Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Peggy Weber, and I'll be bringing you the story of the celebration by Filipino Catholics of the Child Jesus.
Working to repair harm through restorative justice.
Awake from your slumber.
And the inspiring story of one very talented Berkshire music minister. These stories and more are coming up next on this edition of Reel to Reel.
From throughout Western New England and beyond, this is Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Here is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Roulier.
Hello and welcome to Reel and the last weekend of January. What a cold and snowy month it certainly has been here in New England. But on the third Sunday of each January, it is fiesta time in the Philippines as Filipino Catholics celebrate Santo Niño. And local Filipino Catholics have kept this 500-year tradition alive here for the last 20 years as they gather for a wonderful day of faith, food, fun, and family. Peggy Weber tells us more.
About 100 members of the Filipino Catholic community gathered at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish in Springfield to celebrate the feast of Santo Niño, the Child Jesus. The gathering commemorated when the statue of the Holy Child of Cebu was brought to the Philippines in 1521 by explorer Ferdinand Magellan. This image is celebrated with a fiesta and dancing in the streets every January in the Philippines. The Santo Niño Prayer Group of Western Mass organized the day, which has been celebrated for 21 years. Marietta Flaherty was one of the founders.
It started when my mother died. My mother was here, and she died on 1993 in March. So me and Geraldine started it with just a little infant Jesus, and then we're just maybe 9 of us were there, and now it grows bigger and bigger.
Geraldine La Rochelle said the celebration is a special connection for her.
It brings us back like we're at home too. You know, even though we are here, we're far from our, some of our family, but just to see all the Filipino, it feel like at home.
The day began with the praying of the Rosary and a procession around the church.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at our death. Amen.
It was followed by a traditional dance presentation of the Santo Niño statues and roses at the altar. Father Robert White, pastor of Mount Carmel, blessed the statues and welcomed the Filipino community. The St. Niño celebration by Filipino Catholics is about faith and friends. Oh, and yes, food. But most especially, there is a sense of joy here that is absolutely contagious. It is clear that this community has a strong, happy faith. They do not just meet once a year. The prayer group holds weekly meetings to pray a novena and socialize. And many people prayed a special 9-day novena before the feast at Mount Carmel. Olivia Stroman says the prayer group has been a great support.
I will never survive America if I do not join the Santo Niño prayer group. It's continuing the tradition, continue what we started in the Philippines. So it's like a way of being together.
The group served the traditional roast pork and also had a special program that featured other Filipino dancing. Generations gathered to continue a celebration that is almost 500 years old.
This is not an elaborate one because we don't have the dancing on the streets and like that, but just to see how we deeply love the Señor Santo Niño. He is a very powerful kid.
The the women do seem to have a personal relationship with their faith. Geraldine said that when she moved to the United States, the first thing she asked her husband was to find her a Catholic church. And Olivia sums up the importance of her Catholic faith.
It's my whole life. My son asked me a question when he was like 4 years old. He asked me, what are the three most important things in your life? I told him, first, it's God. Second, you and my family. And third, the people I deal with.
The Santo Niño Prayer Group welcomes new members. And in addition to prayer, they have offered aid to those who were harmed by the November 2013 typhoon in the Philippines. It is truly a group that is moved by faith. For Real to Real, I'm Peggy Weber.
And the Santo Niño Prayer Group welcomes all to its weekly novena and annual celebration. You can contact Olivia at 413-348-1251 for more information. Turning now to our Focus on Life segment, today we look at the legacy of Roe v. Wade, the controversial Supreme Court decision which legalized abortion in all 50 states. This past week marked the 41st anniversary of that decision, and despite some bad weather, marchers still converged on our nation's capital. Carolee McGrath has the story now of one woman who used to believe in Roe v. Wade and even worked at Planned Parenthood.
I'm a big brother now. Yeah.
Our baby.
Our baby.
Catherine Adair holds the treasures of her life on her lap. The mother of 4 children is expecting again. She and her husband embrace the Catholic Church's teaching on life and are raising their children to know just how much Jesus loves them. But it's been a long, hard road for this pro-life advocate who used to believe that life was nothing more than a choice.
I was very pro-choice. I was a women's studies major in college. I really believed in a woman's right to choose. And I started working for Planned Parenthood after college and worked in their abortion clinic in Boston and worked there for over a year.
Catherine says she was raised Catholic, but was also raised to believe in abortion rights.
When everybody you know is, pro-choice, and well, what does that mean? It means that you're progressive, you're an intellectual, you believe in rights and equality. And if you don't believe in a woman's right to choose, then you're ignorant or some sort of a religious zealot or just, want to control women.
Catherine says when she found herself unexpectedly pregnant in college, she did what all people around her said made the most sense. She had an abortion. She says she buried the pain and threw herself behind the pro-choice cause, working as a medical assistant at an abortion clinic. But one day, she says she witnessed something that changed everything.
As I went into the room, I saw the table where the abortion, the woman would have been lying. And next to that table, there was a jar where the parts of the body go after an abortion. And I saw in one jar arms and legs of a baby.
Catherine is now sharing her story with audiences all across the country, including at the pro-life breakfast in Holyoke last fall. She says the shock of what she saw was the beginning of the end of her support for abortion.
I had this shock and this anger and this horror, and yet I still went back to work the next day. I had nobody to talk to, nobody. Everybody I knew in my whole life said that abortion was good, that what we were doing was right, that it doesn't involve a baby. And so I didn't know where to turn.
Eventually, Catherine left the clinic and became a teacher. She got married and started raising her family. But still, faith was not part of the picture.
My husband really wanted to go to Mass, so I said I would. So we started going to Mass, and I really liked it. I really felt at home there. I felt really pulled to be there. And over time, I really got a sense that Jesus was calling me.
But she says she still didn't feel worthy of his love and forgiveness. Over time, she worked up the courage to talk to a priest and went to confession, and finally started to heal.
But I think I was lying to myself because One, to hide the pain of my own abortion, because to acknowledge that even seeing it and experiencing it, to acknowledge that it was human was to acknowledge I'd killed my own child. And I couldn't do that. To be able to go to a place of immense pain and suffering and grief, and to know that He'll sustain you through that and that you can use that for good.
Since coming back to the Catholic Church, Catherine has developed a strong devotion to our Blessed Mother, which she says has helped in her healing process. And even though she was left shattered by abortion years ago, she believes there's always hope. So as Catherine prepares to welcome a new baby, she's praying that more and more Americans will recognize the significance and the fallout from 40 years of Roe v. Wade.
I think the legacy of over 50 million dead children and over 50 million mothers and fathers suffering, some for decades. The legacy, is one of the biggest lies perpetrated on the American public, which is that abortion has to do with a woman's right to choose. And that is the biggest lie.
And Catherine says with God's grace, she'll continue to share her story so people will understand the truth about abortion. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
And Catherine Adair will be the featured speaker at the 40th Annual Massachusetts Citizens for Life Mother's Day Dinner, which will be held on Thursday, May 8th at Chez Joseph. For more information or reservations, you can call Monica Butler at 413-746-0655. Still to come on Reel to Reel.
Working to repair harm through restorative justice. And one Berkshire woman has dedicated her life to touching the hearts of others through music. These stories and more are still to come on this edition of Reel to Reel.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionate Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy life to celebrate God's goodness with us each Sunday morning. This week, join Bishop Timothy McDonald as we celebrate Catholic Schools Week 2014, along with the students from St. Mary's Academy in Longmeadow. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday mornings at 10, right here on TV 22.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel to Reel news brief. Well, while the snow and the cold of the past week kept many local pro-lifers from getting to Washington for their annual march, it didn't deter them from making their voices heard locally. Carolee McGrath joins us with that story.
In frigid temperatures, they gathered to pray for the unborn in front of Planned Parenthood in Springfield. Many in this group were supposed to be at the March for Life in Washington, D.C., but the snowstorm that shut down much of the Northeast forced groups from across the Diocese of Springfield to cancel their trips. Walter James organizes the buses that leave from St. Stan's in Chicopee, which includes teens from Cathedral, Holyoke Catholic, St. Mary's in Westfield, and the San Damiano Youth Group.
This is very crazy. This is the first time in 15 years that I've been doing this, that we've canceled a the buses. They were canceled about 20 years ago for an ice storm that they couldn't make down. And I'm glad that Peter Pan made the decision to cancel, because it was the safety of the kids, and that's what comes first.
We lift them up to the Lord. Let us give thanks
The teens were discouraged but still determined, and they got the word out to meet at Mass at the Holy Spirit Chapel at St. Michael's Cathedral before heading to Planned Parenthood on January 22nd, the 41st anniversary of Roe v. Wade. 17-year-old Rebecca James is Walter's daughter.
I was bawling. My brother and I were about to get on a train to go down to D.C., but my parents said it was too dangerous, so we decided to do this instead.
Groups from all over the Northeast also had to cancel their trips, including some leaving from Worcester and Boston. But the march in D.C. went on as planned, despite the weather. 17-year-old Mary Towsley is a member of the San Damiano Youth Group from St. Stan's.
I've been going every single year since I was 6 years old, so it's been quite a few years. So I'm really disappointed that I couldn't be in D.C. this year, but I know that God had a reason for us being here, and I think that us being here, we can do so much good here, and we're in D.C. in spirit.
According to the National Right to Life, more than 56 million babies have been aborted since Roe v. Wade became law. But with ultrasound technology, polls are showing young people are trending pro-life.
Everybody deserves to have a life, you know.
And so a lot of your friends agree with what you're saying?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I kind of influence them to believe what I believe, because the more people that I get to believe in no abortion is, you know, it helps.
I'm Carolee McGrath reporting.
Finally, little girls got glammed up Disney style last Saturday at the Princess Tea Party in South Hadley. Julie Bollier attended the event at St. Patrick's Church Parish Hall, which is a first-time fundraiser for its toddler playgroup.
Dreams came true today for many young ladies at the Princess Tea Party in South Hadley. Girls and even boys, ages 1 through 10, anxiously waited in a line, then went down the street to enter the sold-out party.
Who's your favorite princess, Lana?
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel.
This event, held at St. Patrick Church Social Center, will benefit the church's toddler playgroup. Reem has been bringing her children here since the group started 3 years ago. Lana, like all princesses in the Pioneer Valley, could hardly wait.
So she's been asking me all week, is it Saturday yet? Is it Saturday yet? Is it our tea party yet?
I'm so excited at the tea party.
And who wouldn't be excited about pink cupcakes? Chris Gagney, director of the St. Patrick's Church Toddler Playgroup, came up with the idea for this successful fundraiser.
We have Snow White, Rapunzel, and Cinderella making special guest appearances and mingling around with the crowd and posing for pictures. We have a bounce house. We have plenty of refreshments out. Simplicity Salon of Holyoke is here, and they're doing hair glitter and bows and braids, nail decals, temporary tattoos. They're doing some face painting and basic makeup. So they're basically making all of our princesses sparkle while they're here.
This sold-out event raised about $1,000 to benefit the St. Patrick's Church Toddler Playgroup. This is Julie Bollier reporting in South Hadley.
Looks like a good time was had by all. Remember, you can stay informed on all the happenings in the Catholic Church by logging on to iobserve.org, our news and information website. There, you will find up-to-the-minute, accurate news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and beyond. You can also see video reports from Reel to Real and from the award-winning team at the Catholic News Service. That's our news and information website, iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and that's your Reel to Real News Brief.
This past week, Hampden County Sheriff Michael Ash announced that after 4 decades, he will not seek re-election at the end of this term in 2 years. The sheriff has long championed that redemption is possible for anyone given the chance.
To provide that opportunity, he and his team have created a restorative justice program at the Hampden County House of Corrections to help repair the harm created by an offender's crime. With relapsing back into crime down by 82%, Sheriff Ash and his team say their program is a success. Producer and videographer Tim Lindop now has more in a video essay.
The need for healing and forgiveness and reconciliation, I think, are part of the human spirit.
Our offenders harm people physically, do things in terms of against property, and this is a violation of both the victim as well as the community, and it's just unacceptable. This restorative justice and the Community Accountability Board and the Victim Impact Program, it's integrated in our overall mission of what we're doing.
Restorative justice always refers to bringing the attention to the victims, support and sensitivity to the victims.
Historically, our criminal justice system, it's looked at as it's a crime against the state, and it becomes the state versus the offender. We're really trying to give victims a voice in the system. We're trying to give communities a voice, in the criminal justice system, because if we really want to affect long-term change, we need to all work together.
Oh, thank you.
My concern is how they come back into the community. Restorative justice, challenging inmates, hold them accountable. This is a case of, if you will, making amends.
You're a member of our community. We've lost that sense, I think, that we belong to each other. We really are brothers and sisters. What does that mean?
When we did something wrong as kids, many of our parents held us accountable. We're brought back, as our sheriff would describe, bringing the offender back to the scene of the crime, so to speak.
Hearing people's stories and what happened, why are people doing the things that they do? Very often that's a question that people have, why? Why would people do these things? And so they're learning a lot about some of the problems that are happening in the community and why things are happening.
The target communities are those where most victimization is occurring out there.
We're all about public safety, and we're coming up with real solutions, okay? And real measures and standards that work. So it's law enforcement, nonprofits, citizens, all working together. And when you think of work in terms of urban America today, we think of gangs, we think of drugs, we think of violence, but basically overtaking our streets and making the citizens, if you will, very fearful. And I love what we're doing, because what we're saying, that we're going back into these neighborhoods and empowering the neighborhoods.
The Community Accountability Board members are the voice of the community.
12 different boards meeting in different communities in Springfield and Holyoke.
Some 80 volunteers at this point who give up their time from their families to go to a location and be exposed to the offender who wreaked havoc in their community, and offer that time up is significant.
Very often it's, I'm harmed because I got caught and because I had to come to jail.
One of the goals that they realize how their crime has impacted the community, because they know that those of us on the board either live or work in the community of Holyoke. We try to set them at ease in the beginning and say we're not there to judge, we're there to just listen and to challenge them to make better choices in the future.
The offender is given tasks to work on during the month, things to complete such as community service, projects, whatever it may be that makes sense. Each case is individual and each person is seen individually.
If I were to bring the offenders that have participated in this program and put them in this chair, they'll tell you directly that it's one of the hardest things that they've had to undergo.
82% of our inmates that leave here do not come back at the end of the first year, and that 60%, do not come back after 3 years.
Many people that work in the system believe that most of the offenders that come in our system do not have the capacity for remorse, do not have the capacity for shame. Well, we know differently.
Well, Catholic social teaching is about justice and equality and human dignity and respect.
We value people.
Some acts of injustice are very, very difficult to forgive. Maybe impossible for some people to forgive. But that's the ideal. I'm not, I think it's each person's journey.
So if we're able to get the offender to a place where they want to be a part of the community that's helping to make the community a better place, then that's a really good outcome.
What we have here at Hampden County Sheriff's Department is a model. It should be looked at in a very comprehensive way in terms of confronting the offender, hold them accountable, which is a lot of hard work, and that's what I'm very proud about. Our staff is very dedicated and committed to this mission, and they do a wonderful job. I'm very proud of them.
I'm Terry Hegarty. Next week on Reel to Reel, I'll report on some of the many happenings that will take place during Catholic Schools Week.
You are watching Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Here again is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Rulier.
Many people say that when you sing, you pray twice. And the same could be said for playing church music, whether it's on a traditional organ, a piano, or even a guitar. We continue our series on music ministers in the Catholic Church today with my profile on Sandra Cummings from St. Mary's Parish in Lee. This longtime music minister is an inspiration, one who has truly dedicated her life to her church, her faith, and her music.
Sandra Cummings has been serving St. Mary's Parish in Lee since 1978, when she began playing guitar in the church folk group. She played by ear back then, self-taught, not knowing how to read a note. Then in 1985, her then pastor, Father Howard McCormick, asked if she would become music director. So she taught herself how to play the organ.
Every night I locked myself in the church and I'd pick a note on the guitar, a note on the organ, note on the guitar, note on the organ. And God saw me through it, that I was able to do the music and be able to learn the organ. But I couldn't do it if it wasn't for Him. You want to take credit, but you can't. It was God.
Her deep faith in God is what has kept her here at St. Mary's for nearly 30 years. Eventually going back to school where she learned music theory and how to read sheet music. Sandra directs the parish choirs, considering the members one big family.
Our goal is to be one up here, to be one downstairs, have it go to the cross and come back to us in total prayer, and touch that one special heart downstairs.
Sandra says she enjoys her work tremendously, considering music to be an important part of her faith.
Because it's given me a chance to pray through music. Sometimes the recited prayer is beautiful, but sometimes your heart needs to speak a little bit louder and a little bit more, and that's what my music does for me.
And she says she feels like she is at home and is humbled and grateful for the opportunity to serve the parish community while doing something that she truly loves.
When I play the organ or the piano, I'm looking at the feet of Jesus, and I picture myself actually there. And I can never make myself worthy enough to be able to thank Him enough. And all I want to do is to be able to touch one heart downstairs. If I've touched that heart, then I know I've done what was asked of me, and that was to do my music ministry.
A new day is dawning for all those who breathe.
Wow, you can just feel the love that Sandra Cummings has for her faith and her church. Very powerful. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. To keep up to date on all of the news in the Catholic Church and the Diocese of Springfield and around the world, log on to our news and information site 24 hours a day, iobserve.org. And join me back at this same time next week for a special Catholic Schools Week edition of our show. I'll be stepping aside for a guest host from Cathedral High School. So join us then for Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Have a good week.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.